nameless city. When I drew nigh the nameless city, I knew it was accursed. I was traveling in a parched and terrible valley under the moon, and afar I saw it protruding uncannily above the sands as part of a corpse may protrude from an ill-made grave. Fear spoke from the age-worn stones of his hoary survivor of the deluge, this great-grandmother of the eldest pyramid, and of viewless aura, repelled me and bade me retreat from antiquate and sinister secrets that no man should see, and no man else had ever dared to see. Remote in the desert of Araby lies the nameless city, crumbling and inarticulate, and its low walls nearly hidden by the sands of uncounted ages. It must have been thus before the first stones of Memphis were laid. While the bricks of Babylon were yet unbaked, there is no legend so old as to give it a name or to recall that it was never alive, but it was told of in whispers around the campfires and muttered around by the grandmams of the tents and sheiks, so that all the tribe shunned it without wholly knowing why. It was of this place that Abdul Alzred, the mad poet, dreamed on the night before he sang his unexplainable couplet, that it is not dead which can eternal lie, and with strange omens even death may die. I should have known that the Arabs had good reason for shunning the nameless city. The city told of strange tales, but yet seen by no living man. Yet I defined them and went into the untrodden waste with my camel. I alone have seen it, and that is why no other face bears such hideous lines of fear as mine, why no other man shivers so horribly when the night wind rattles the windows. When I came upon it, in the ghastly stillness of unending sleep, it looked at me, chilling from the rays of cold moon amidst the desert's heat. And as it returned, it looks, I forget my triumph at finding it, and stopping still with my camel to wait for the dawn. For hours I waited, till the east grew gray and the stars faded, and the gray turned rusale, light-edged with gold. I heard the moaning and saw a storm of sand stirring among the antique stones, though the sky was clear and the vast reaches of the desert still. Then suddenly above the desert's far rim came the blazing edge of the sun, seen through the tiny sandstorm which was passing away, and in my fevered state I fancied that from some remote depth there came a crash of musical metal to hail the fiery disk as Momen hails it from the banks of Nile. My ears rang and my imagination seethed as I led my camel slowly across the sand to the unvocal stone place, that place too old for Egypt to remember, that place which I alone of living men had seen. In and out amongst the shapeless foundations of houses and palaces I wandered, finding never a carving or inscription to tell of those men, of if men they were, who built the city and dwelt thereon so long ago. The iniquity of the spot was unwholesome, and I longed to encounter some sign or device to prove that the city was indeed fashioned by mankind. There were certain proportions and dimensions in the ruins which I did not like. I had with me many tools, and dug much within the walls of the obliteration edifices, but progress was slow, and nothing significant was revealed. When night and the moon returned, I felt a chill wind which brought new fear, so that I did not dare to remain in the city, and as I went outside the antique walls to sleep, a small sighing sandstorm gathered behind me, blowing over the gray stones, for the moon was bright and most of the desert still. I awakened just at dawn from a pageant of horrible dreams, my ears ringing as from some metallic peal. I saw the sun peering reddly through the last gust of a little sandstorm that hovered over the nameless city and marked the quietness of the rest of the landscape. Once more I ventured within those brooding ruins which swelled beneath the sand like an org under a corvlet, and again dug vainly for relics of the forgotten race. At noon I rested, and in the afternoon I spent much time tracing the walls and bygone streets and the outlines of the nearly vanished buildings. I saw the city had been mighty indeed. Wondering at the sources of its greatness, to myself I pictured all the splendors of an age so distant that Chaldea could not recall, and thought of Cernith the doomed, that stood in the land of Nor when mankind was young, and of Ibe, that was carven of grey stone before mankind existed. All at once I came upon a place where the bedrock rose stark through the sand and formed a low cliff, and there I saw with joy what seemed to promise further traces of the Andaluvian people. Hewn rudely on the face of the cliff were the unmistakable facets of several small, squat rock houses or temples, whose interiors might preserve many secrets of ages too remote for calculation. Through the sandstorms had long since affected any carvings which may have been outside. Very low and sand-choked were all of the dark apertures near me, but I cleared one with my spade and crawled through it, carrying a torch to reveal whatever mysteries it might hold. When I was inside, I saw the cavern was indeed a temple, and beheld plain signs of the race that I had lived and worshipped before the desert was a desert. Primitive altars, pillars, niches, all curiosity, lo, were not obscene. And though I saw no sculptures nor frescoes, there were many singular stones clearly shaped into the symbols by artificial means. The lowness of the chiseled chambers were very strange, for I could hardly the kneel upright, but the area was so great that my torch shewed only part at a time. I shuddered oddly, and some of the far corners for certain altars in stone suggested forgotten rites of terrible, revolting, inexplicable nature, and many wondered what manner of men could have made the frequent such a temple. When I had seen all that the place contained, I crawled out again, avid to find what the other temples might yield. Night and now approached, yet the tangled things I had seen made curiosity stronger than fear, so that I did not flee from the long moon cast shadows that had daunted me. When first I saw the nameless city in the twilight, I cleared another aperture, and with a new torch crawled into it, finding more vague stones and symbols, through nothing more definite than the other temple had contained. The room was just as low, but much more broad, ending in a very narrow passage, crowded with obscure and cryptical shrines. About these shrines I was praying when the noise of the wind and my camel outside broke through the stillness and drew me forth to see what could have frightened the beast.